Federal Trade Commission versus Meta Platforms is an ongoing antitrust court case brought by the FTC against Facebook parent company Meta. The lawsuit alleges that Meta has accumulated monopoly power via anti-competitive mergers, with the suit centering on the acquisition of Instagram and WhatsApp. The case survived Meta's motion to dismiss the lawsuit in 2022 and in 2024. The case is set to go to trial April 14th, 2025, shortly after Trump takes power. And what a surprise that out of nowhere, suddenly we are seeing this brand new version of Mark Zuckerberg, where he's suddenly really hyper-focused on culture war issues, which he knows can be incredibly distracting. I gotta talk about some of the scary things that happen right now. Namely, no, not the Adrian Dittman stuff. The Zuck.
Government should be defending its companies, right? Not be the tip of the spear attacking its companies. I don't want to come across as if like we don't have things that we need to do better. Obviously we do. And when we mess something up, we deserve to be held accountable for that and just like everyone else. I do think that the American technology industry is a bright spot in the American economy. I think it's a strategic advantage for the United States that we have a lot of the strongest companies in the world. And I think it should be part of the U.S.'s strategy going forward to defend that. And it's one of the things that I'm optimistic about with President Trump.
So that was Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg arguing that when the U.S. government targets or attacks tech companies, it sets a dangerous precedent. And
that's probably not what you've heard about, though. You probably heard about all the other headlines, because those are the ones that have been making all the news. You know, Zuckerberg says that he wants companies to be more masculine. He says they need masculine energy. He is going to be changing the policies on Meta. He is directly targeting trans people. He's directly targeting LGBTQ plus people. He's directly targeting vulnerable minorities, allowing for certain forms of hate speech. He's changing your ability to correct fake news on the platform. He says he wants a more community notes driven approach for all of that. He's also allowed Dana White to join the board, which made a lot of his own company members be like, that guy is on camera assaulting his own wife. Are you serious? Why would you do this? And then those apparently are being internally destroyed in terms of communication. 404 Media, and shout out to them. They've been really good at documenting everything that's been happening with the sentient Q-tip. But Meta employees are furious with the company's newly announced content moderation changes that will allow users to say LGBTQ plus people have mental illness, according to internal conversations obtained by 404 Media and interviews with 5 current employees. The changes were part of a larger shift Mark Zuckerberg announced Monday to do far less content moderation on Meta. I am LGBTQ and mentally ill, one post said by an employee on an internal Meta platform. Just to let you know, I'll be taking time out to look after my mental health. On Monday, Mark Zuckerberg announced that the company would be getting back to our roots around free expression to allow more speech and fewer mistakes. The company said we're getting rid of a number of restrictions on topics like immigration, gender identity, and gender that are subject of frequent political discourse and debate. A review of Meta's official content moderation policy shows specifically that some of the only substantive changes to the policy were made specifically to allow allegations of mental illness or abnormality when based on gender or sexual orientation, and it's long been known that LGBTQ plus is not a sign of mental illness, and it is a false idea that sexuality or gender identification is a mental illness, and has long been used to stigmatize and discriminate against LGBTQ plus people. That's not all. They're blocking links to decentralized Instagram competitor PixelFed. I got to get into PixelFed. This is selling me on PixelFed. Streisand affect this, company. Well, it's probably not new, but I just didn't know of it. Meta is deleting links to PixelFed, a decentralized Instagram competitor. On Facebook, the company is labeling links to pixelfed.social as spam and deleting them immediately. PixelFed is an open source, community-funded, and decentralized image sharing platform that runs on ActivityPub. It's the exact same technology and support that Mastodon and other federated services use. Pixelfed.social is the largest PixelFed server, which launched in 2018, but has gained renewed attention over the last week. Blue Sky user AJ Sadorkas originally posted links to PixelFed were being deleted on Meta. 404 Media also then tried to post a link to PixelFed on Facebook, and it was immediately deleted because they don't want competition to Instagram. Also, by the time you're listening to this, TikTok may no longer be available in the United States. One of its primary competitors, Meta, of course, is going to be gaining a large portion of the market share as people jump from creating content on TikTok in the US to obviously posting their TikTok as reels, I guess, on Instagram or on Facebook if they're really, really old. But that's obviously going to be a huge win for other competitors to TikTok and how they operate. Meta is deleting trans and non-binary messenger themes. Meta deleted non-binary and trans themes from Messenger app this week. Around the same time, the company announced that it would change its rules to allow users to declare LGBTQ plus people are mentally ill. Meta's Messenger app allows users to change the color scheme and design of their chat windows with different themes. For example, there's currently a Squid Game theme, a Minecraft theme, a basketball theme, and a love theme, amongst many others. These themes regularly change, but for the last few years, they've featured a trans theme and a non-binary theme, which had color schemes that matched the trans pride flag and non-binary pride flag. Meta did not respond to a request for comment as to why the company removed these themes. Again, incredibly petty fascist bigotry taking place to appeal to a demographic of people who just eat this shit up. Like, you just got to jangle the turf keys a little bit in front of MAGA, and then all of a sudden you get shit like this. What? Tim Pool on Fox News. Can MAGA trust Zuckerberg?
Cast. Are you buying the Zuckerberg transition?
I'm buying that he's a fair weather friend and that this is the path of least resistance. But hey, look, we're happy Trump won, so I'll take the power if he's shifting in this direction. But I think when you look at the Joe Rogan podcast and he talks about, oh, they're yelling at us and they're forcing us to do these things, this only scratches the surface. Facebook built a portal for feds to log in to their company so they could flag misinformation. It has long been known, over a decade, that the federal government, the FBI...
He left the compound. That's true. He doesn't do that. Because that's the thing, right? You got to travel there. For that, it doesn't normally do in-house appearances. I guess exceptions can be made.
The CIA, I think the NSA, had backdoor access to Facebook as well as many other companies. So when Zuckerberg comes out and he's all, oh man, you know, they were yelling at us and putting this pressure. We had no choice to do it. You're only saying that now because the news and the information got leaked over a long and hard-fought battle where activists, real journalists, were exposing them for having done this. Now they're giving us the light vanilla version of they were just having us censor this COVID stuff. No, let me ask you a question, Mark Zuckerberg. Eric Charamella, do you remember that name?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the guys involved in whistleblowing on Donald Trump.
By the way, if you want to look at any section of what Tim Pool's been reporting on Facebook for a while, just video after video after video. 5 years ago, Facebook is too powerful. It needs to be stopped. Facebook bans ad calling for breaking up Facebook. Facebook announces its censorship board. Who will determine if you're banned or not? Facebook announces end of censorship and huge victory. Admits deep state forced censorship on Meta. Like, they hated Facebook for a very long time, specifically because they thought Facebook was a bunch of liberal, woke CEOs who believed in wokeism, liberalism, and I've been saying consistently, and this is not going to change, these are billionaires, these are corporations, and it doesn't matter how you view the culture war at any given time, they're always going to be working in their own self-interest to be able to maximize the value of their profits to their shareholders. That's how this whole thing works. It's not because they care about the conversation. It's not because they care about free speech or censorship. One person's free speech is another person's censorship, is another person's culture war, is another person's civil rights. All that just comes down to their fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to, again, continue to maximize profits. If you're someone like Mark Zuckerberg, who had this brilliant idea that apparently the next revolution in technology was going to be virtual reality, and that he should spend billions and billions of dollars on virtual reality, and he should build an entire virtual world called the metaverse and use graphics from fucking the PS2 era and have a whole bunch of people in a world where they get to work all day, but with really heavy headsets on their heads that give some people headaches and make their eyes strain. And then instead of having to go into your office, you can go into the virtual world. Instead of having to go shopping, you can shop in the virtual world. He was basically like, do you love work? Do you love shopping? Do you love chores? Do you love errands? Well, why don't you do all of those things in a video game? And everyone was like, what? There's already VR, and there's already people who have played VR. There's fun VR games. Beat Saber is a good example, but for the most part, no one wants this. This is a terrible idea, and it was a terrible idea. It flopped. The metaverse is not taken off. People still call it Facebook. People have refused to adopt we are now changing our entire branding to Meta, and everyone is adopting the metaverse. It's hanging on life support because this is, again, a multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation that generates still a lot of income and still has a lot of other countries. Even if you're not using Facebook in North America, people in other countries use Facebook for social media. People use Messenger. People use Instagram. People use WhatsApp. It's a massive monopoly.
For the false impeachment against him related to Ukraine. And there was a period where if you went on Facebook and typed that name in any context, they would delete it without notification, no warning, no rule violation. That is extreme censorship, because covering up that name hid a news story of historical significance. We can talk about the laptop. That affected an election, massively important.
And then Joe ended up pardoning his son for the laptop that was real that you got censored for talking.
Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden. If you say it 3 times, he might appear. So that's what they're worried about when it comes to censorship. They're like, you weren't allowed to talk about the Hunter Biden story. These companies, they were dominated by right-wingers, by the way. If you look at the top 10 most popular media channels on Facebook, it's still Daily Wire ones, Ben Shapiro, Dan Bongino. Like, the top 10, do they even have one, like, you know, I would say even liberal in terms of, like, their reach? Facebook is dominated by right-wing media and right-wing fucking propaganda and indoctrination, and has been for a very long time. And that's not changing right now, by the way. What is changing is the front-facing Mark Zuckerberg suddenly going on all these shows and releasing these statements that apparently they are going to be openly targeting LGBTQ plus people, and they want to relax the hate speech. Meta's elimination of fact-checking will not likely be effective and leads to the impression that it is caving to U.S. political pressure days before Donald Trump takes office, according to Michael McConnell, co-chair of Meta's Oversight Board. Speaking to NPR All Things Considered podcast on Friday, the Stanford law professor said he privately felt it would be interpreted as bucking and caving to Trump following the former president's ban from the platform 4 years ago. Asked if outsourcing content moderation to volunteers in lieu of dedicated fact-checkers would work, he replied, "I'm not overly confident that this is going to be the solution. In his view, there's no magic bullet to solving content moderation." Last week, Meta scrapped fact-checking in favor of crowdsourcing volunteers to police content similar to those already found on X, the rival social media platform. Meta's founder, Mark Zuckerberg, explicitly tied the decision to Trump's election, calling the former president a resounding victory and a cultural tipping point. Now, the really fucked up and scary thing about this is that, again, it's showing that they are just openly and proud to be able to directly target LGBTQ plus people, and that they are completely fine doing it because they feel that, yes, this is the safe arena in which to enact outright bigotry and not face consequences for it if they can get safety and protection from, Donald Trump. What this actually all is about happens to be, and if you didn't know this, it's not as if Mark Zuckerberg is suddenly a man's man. I don't know if you heard, but he banned tampons in the men's washrooms, which is what a really secure man who's secure in his masculinity, who thinks the company need more masculine energy, would do. But this is what's about to happen. There is a major lawsuit happening to Meta, one that could see it. And I mean, I don't have a lot of hope right now, considering he's knowing how to play the game, but one that could see it fall under antitrust laws. That could potentially see their massive monopolization be broken up, which is exactly what these laws should be in place to do. Meta seeks dismissal of FTC's antitrust lawsuit over Instagram, WhatsApp deals, claiming it faces fierce competition from a range of platforms. Meta filed a motion Friday requesting the dismissal of the FTC antitrust lawsuit against the social media company, arguing the agency still hasn't provided any basis for litigation, which could potentially force Meta to divest Instagram and WhatsApp. In 2020, the FTC and more than 40 state attorney generals sued the company, then called Facebook, alleging it illegally acquired competitors, Instagram and WhatsApp, in the abuse of its monopoly power. The FTC's original lawsuit was dismissed in 2021 after a federal judge found the agency provided insufficient evidence that the social media giant held a monopoly. Less than 2 months later, the FTC filed an amendment lawsuit. It said established that Meta, since 2011, had maintained a dominant share of the relevant market for the U.S. personal social networking services. The FTC suit seeks potential remedies, including requiring Meta to divest or restructure its business, including but not limited to Instagram and or WhatsApp, restore the competition that would exist in the absence of the alleged anti-competitive conduct. In a statement announcing Meta's motion to dismiss, filed by the U.S. District Court, they've tried multiple times to get this dismissed, unsuccessfully since then. So now it's coming up 2025, I believe April 15th is when they will be in court. April 14th. Federal Trade Commission versus Meta. Federal Trade Commission versus Meta Platforms is an ongoing antitrust court case brought by the FTC against Facebook parent company Meta. The lawsuit alleges that Meta has accumulated monopoly power via anti-competitive mergers, with the suit centering on the acquisition of Instagram and WhatsApp. The case survived Meta's motion to dismiss the lawsuit in 2022 and in 2024. The case is set to go to trial April 14th, 2025, shortly after Trump takes power, and what a surprise that out of nowhere, suddenly we are seeing this new, brand new version of Mark Zuckerberg, where he's suddenly really hyper-focused on culture war issues, which he knows can be incredibly distracting. Users are free to post, quote, Mexican immigrants are trash, or, quote, trans people are immoral. Under Meta's relaxed hate speech rules, users can now post, I'm a proud racist, or black people are more violent than whites. It's horrifying. Like you're seeing basically a modern neo-fascism play out in which they are obviously going after vulnerable groups aggressively, and they're using it to be able to coalesce state and corporate power to preserve capitalism. That's exactly what fascism is. It's just taking place before your eyes in 4K, and he's trying to mask the entire thing as, well, this is actually about free speech. This is actually about furthering conversation. This is actually because I care deeply about these kind of issues, and we want to be able to have open dialogue. That's because I don't believe the debate is settled on problem X or problem Y. That's because, like, no matter how he tries to spin it, and no matter how the right wing ingests it and then regurgitates it and tries to act as if it's like, well, this is because wokeness was defeated, and he's simply this is a changing tide and showing you where the future is. The scary thing about all this is, though, is that nothing changes in terms of the material conditions here. Nothing changes in terms of billionaires, CEOs, and big tech companies wanting to maintain power. And if this is shown to be a potential playbook that they can go down, where all of a sudden, hey, Mark Zuckerberg was undergoing a really, really potentially damaging lawsuit from the FTC. It was going to break up his monopolies. He was going to have to divest from Instagram and Facebook. He was going to lose potentially billions and billions of dollars and not be able to have a complete stranglehold on this section of, the economy. It didn't happen. And it didn't happen because he went down this playbook. He just suddenly had to vilify a whole bunch of groups. He had to go after LGBTQ plus people, after minorities. He had to go after women, and he had to talk about how he wants raw masculinity, and he had to cozy up to Trump. And it seems like by doing those things, suddenly, under Trump's government, he seems to have more protection. Well, I mean, then all these other major tech companies do have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to do the same shit. It's going to be a playbook that could show itself to be wildly effective. Because they don't care about social issues. These aren't woke liberals who actually have a deep vested interest in making society better. They're sick and perverse. They think of us as trash, and they are willing to destroy society to see lying go up time and time again. You can say things now such as immigrants are grubby, filthy pieces of shit. You can say things such as gays are freaks. You can say, look at this T-slur. Beneath a photo of a 17-year-old girl. The changes are part of a broader policy shift that includes the suspension of the company's fact-checking programs. The goal, Meta said Thursday, is to allow more speech by lifting restrictions. Meta's newly appointed global policy chief, Joel Kaplan, described the effort in a statement as a mean to fix the complete system to manage content on our platforms, which are increasingly complicated for us to enforce. Well, Kaplan and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg have couched the changes as a way to allow users to engage more freely in an ideological dissent and political debate. The previously unreported policy materials reviewed by The Intercept illustrate the extent to which purely insulting and dehumanizing rhetoric is now accepted. It's a very scary time, and obviously now more than ever, and I would say this especially to cis folk, be loud, make your voices known, show your disgust and revilement, and don't accept the fact that a lot of these people are distracting you from the actual issues. They do not want to be held accountable. Mark Zuckerberg does not want to pay more in taxes. Mark Zuckerberg does not want his monopolies broken up, and he has a lot of outlets on the right to be able to use to try and distract everybody and convince everyone that this is actually about free speech. This is actually about masculinity in crisis. This is actually about the radical trans agenda. That's what he cares about, not the antitrust lawsuit. Not the idea of high taxation on a lot of these corporations so they can pay their fair share and benefit everybody. And the Joe Rogans of the world are now the perfect outlet to be able to just sit down. Who else has he had on recently? Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. Like, he used to have UFC fighters, comedians on a regularly rotating carousel. Now it's billionaire oligarchs, the elites. The very elites that the people that Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and all these people pretend are controlling the world and we have to defeat them. They are platforming them. They are platforming them and helping pacify the world into thinking that this is actually about free speech. Oh, okay. So this is not about increasing bigotry towards vulnerable minorities. It's about allowing conversation. This is about maintaining masculinity and restoring it at a time when it seems to be in crisis. Okay. So this is not about the FTC lawsuit. It has nothing to do with that. This is 100% because at the end of the day, we have to now take back our country. Shit like that. They're all lying.
I'll tell you for a fact, Mark Zuckerberg started doing Jiu Jitsu, and nothing turns you into a libertarian like Jiu Jitsu.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nothing turns you into a person who, like, really values hard work and discipline and struggle like Jiu Jitsu.
Huh.
Because exposure of character on a level that, like, there's nothing else is like it.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that much.
Yeah, because you expose character in a way that it's almost impossible, even with other martial arts. Because with other martial arts, you can only spar so much, man. Believe me, because I spar too much. You spar.
Do you think, this is not meant to be incendiary, but do you think that your political movement is adopting the wrong strategy, it's losing traction? What's collapsing right now is the world faith in a neoliberal world order. That was never my movement. I was in opposition to it. I was always someone who said that liberals are, in my assessment as a leftist, a less dangerous opponent because at the same time, they're not actively trying to go after vulnerable minorities. They're not going after and trying to vilify black people in DEI programs. They're not going after queer people in the same way. They have historically in the past, but certainly between the two groups, if you looked at conservatives and liberals, liberals have adopted a lot more understanding towards things like gay rights, that there should be marriage equality, towards bodily autonomy, that women should have the right to choose how and when they give birth, things like that. Liberals are on the side of, whereas the right is barreling towards fascism, towards the idea that there are, superior hierarchies and races and, people who they find to be the lesser thans should be cleansed of the earth, that kind of shit. They're barreling towards that. The problem being that the Joe Bidens of the world, who tried to sell the idea in his last year in office that the neoliberal world order requires him to do two crucial things: spend a very large amount of money to support Ukraine and spend a very large amount of money to support Israel, as Israel commits the genocide of Palestinians, completely destroys the mythos of that this is being done specifically because, how can you on one end demonstrate that you have a war criminal, Vladimir Putin, who's committing war crimes, who's trying to annex and colonize another part of the world, and that it is just to fight up against him? Okay, I agree with you there. Okay, on the other end, Israel needs all the money in the world and all the weaponry of the United States to commit a genocide. And you're like, wait, what? Do you believe in nothing? What is going on here? Like, this is not a sales pitch. This is going to completely disrupt people's what little fragile remaining confidence there is in the U.S. being a benevolent empire, which at this point, hopefully, most people have woken up to. And yeah, that system is collapsing. I'm not suddenly going to change and say the solution to that being a problem is more radical centrism. Radical centrism gets us into this mess. Radical centrism is one of the reasons why so many people were completely fine with status quo, while there was a very, very large contingent of people wondering why that seems to exacerbate wealth inequality at the same time. Why is the world still getting shitty under global neoliberal capitalism? And then the answer to that is, well, the poors aren't working hard enough, or at the end of the day, we need to support, once again, the mythos of the international world order, that kind of shit. Obviously, at a certain point, there is going to be a breaking point. That breaking point is going to have a very serious moment occur, which is where we're finding ourselves now, which is one of two directions. People are either trying to get as close as they can to power, as quickly as they can. That's what you're seeing with Jank, for example. That's what you're seeing with people suddenly lying to you that Trump and MAGA are actually populists, that they actually care about working class issues. No, they don't. I know that not only because they've been in power before, but because you can see very clearly in the stuff that they're already doing, appointing a neocon fucking war-hungry war cabinet before they're even in power, they're already talking about potentially conquering or annexing Greenland and making Canada the 51st state. Jokes, I know, but they're less funny when you happen to live in those countries. And now, with Donald Trump effectively behind the scenes with that leaked political report, gutting Medicaid in the United States, that is going to be a key part, because that's been the golden ticket for conservatives for a very long time, to privatize and erode healthcare. Healthcare is an enormously potentially profitable industry. The less you allow it to be public, the more you can erode the public healthcare system and privatize it, the more money people with lots of money can continue to make. So that's obviously in their best interest to keep doing that. They're not populists. They're lying to you about that, and other people are lying to you about those lies, which makes it profoundly sad, yes, that the Polymarket Studios isn't being completely genuine about that. But what's really important is that people have media literacy and they see through this bullshit. Not everyone is afforded the luxury of being able to switch sides and switch teams and cozy up to power. That there are people who their very existence is being threatened by the far right. And there are people who are never going to be able to simply say, well, if I just say the right thing and do the right thing, then all of a sudden I will have the ability to be welcomed within their ranks. I can be like a Mark Zuckerberg, and I can simply say that I care about masculinity, and that I hate trans people, and that I want to take the tampons out of the bathrooms, and my company will be okay, and I'll be okay, and the FTC won't come after me. Or all the way down to media personalities who are now doing the exact same thing, trying to cozy up to a lot of these fucking right-wing reactionaries, hoping that, well, yeah, I mean, this could open me up to a brand new market. Lots more people will watch me. I hopefully, we'll be able to continue to get really massive sponsorships from some very dubious and seedy companies, such as cryptocurrency gambling, and no one will really notice. If you want to go down that road, some people have the privilege to be able to do that. Some people don't. Like, for example, I could, if I wanted to. I could hide for the rest of my life being a bisexual, say I was just kidding, I'm 100% straight. I could lie about having an indigenous mother because I'm white as fuck, and I could just, be a day walker and hide in the light kind of thing, because no one would ever question it. Oh, you look European. You're European, right? I certainly am, sir. Catalonian. I'm just Catalonian. Only Catalonian. There's nothing else to me. I can certainly be, like, I could have the privilege to do that. I don't want to, because I don't see any future for humanity as long as you capitulate to fascists. Time and time again throughout history, every time this happens, they don't stop at any one particular group. Look what's happening in specific states in the United States right now. They're going after marriage equality. They're going after the right for gay people to get married, and that's their next step. And then it's going to be a step after that. It's going to be, first they came for the communists and I said nothing. Then they came for the socialists and I said nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists and I said nothing. Then they came for the Jews and I said nothing, for I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. That's why people continuously advocate for the principle that we're not free until we all are. Oh, Chico just bit himself. Chico. I was in the middle of a rant. Poor baby. He does this thing where he, like, sometimes nibbles on his paws and nibbles on his nails, and then sometimes he'll do it to the point of hurting himself. I know, baby, you're okay. You're fine. Just don't do that so hard. Do that so intensely. Yeah, we're not free until we all are, and so that's why you can't just suddenly think that it's convenient to allow the far right to go after trans people, because I'm not trans, I'm cis, and that doesn't affect me. It does. It affects everybody, always. It doesn't matter what part of a group you are. The only real good news about this is effectively that at the end of the day, every single time fascism fully manifests itself, it's eventually destroyed, because it's profoundly anti-human. That's the only piece of good news I can say about that. I bet you already drink coffee and love coffee, but you're probably worried if your coffee has blood in it. Not literal blood, but conflict zone blood. Did you want to buy coffee that is not only going to be delicious, it's going to arrive right on your door, it helps a little bit fund the serfs, and also it's end-to-end indigenous owned. That's why I partnered with Solstice Coffee, and hey, if you order by going to serfscoffee.com, they even include a free sticker, which is pretty awesome. So there's really no reason to actually not replace the coffee you already drink with delicious ethical coffee. That's why you should check out serfscoffee.com.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/theserfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Egbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.